Om Shanti, good morning. So this very important word that Baba is giving us that has about 35 different meanings is prasann. 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 Prasann, Hindi word. Learn one word every so often. Prasann. So now the word that we have in English is happy. But it doesn't refer to the emotion of happiness. It's more of an approach or an attitude that you must have in order to feel all right about everyone and everything and whatever's going on. So when you hear the word happy, don't check yourself to see if you're having a feeling of happiness, because that will not work. Feelings are very movable and changeable, and they're moods in a way. And so think about your relationship with everything so that you don't need to complain about anything. You really don't need to correct anyone. What happens when you correct anyone? They don't like it. And then the relationship is a little broken. So that's not worth it. Do this, don't do that. We can't do that. There was a time when Baba said, do not give knowledge to Brahmins, because Brahmins already know. And so it's to do with respecting the right of another person to do something that you think is not okay, but it's not really your job to deal with their karma. It's quite subtle, but in Gyan, the most important thing is relationship. And to have good relationship with Brahmins is quite tricky because of many things. So this Murli Baba's talking about being happy, which includes you need to have a very good sense of humor. Don't have a sense of humor, you will get easily upset by all the things that you find annoying or that trigger your feeling that you need to correct someone. Because we're not really in boarding school, are we? No. And well, there are all sorts of hierarchies. Every soul is number wise. Different people have different positions and all of that. But behind all of that, we are all brothers. And that's a good relationship, brothers, because it's about the only egalitarian relationship there is. And so when he tells us you're brothers, there's a lot of depth in that. So this is Avyakt Murli of 5th of December 2021, which was originally spoken on 5th of December, same day, but 1989. And it is about being constantly prasann, happy. So we have to think of this word happy in many different ways. Om Shanti. Today, Bab Dada was looking at all the children from everywhere, and what did he see? The extent to which each child is happy at every moment. So moment by moment, something will happen, good, bad, or indifferent. Does it change how you feel? Normally, yes. But when there is gyan, then you take the rough with the smooth, you handle everything, and it doesn't bend you out of shape or put you out or anything like that. So each child is happy at each moment. Along with that, Baba also saw how much you make others happy. Because people will take a cue from you. If you're okay about everything, they will, maybe even unconsciously, they will be okay about everything also, because you say, I use this expression, what difference does it make to the price of rice in China? None. It's completely nothing to do with it. So it's just a way of getting over the different bumps and humps along the way. So, how much do you make others happy? That's also, you benefit people. Because happiness is the only thing visible on your faces as the practical form of all godly attainments. So, the main inheritance Baba gives us is the knowledge. And part of that is the knowledge of drama, which is predestined. So, whatever everybody's doing, presumably that's also predestined. And so you say, it is what it is. What Daddy Janki told me, very good mantra. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. Because then you can let go and then you can stay happy. Are you happy? Very happy? Very good. Oh, yes. His name is Happiness, right? I forgot that. So today your name has to be Prasanchit. Yes. Very good. So the happiness is the only thing visible on your faces as the practical form of all godly attainment. So knowledge, powers, virtues. Happiness is the special foundation of Brahman life. There is a difference of day and night between temporary happiness and the permanent happiness that's based on the complete, perfect stage. So perfect doesn't mean extreme. Perfect means balanced. And complete means that you have the power, the light of Baba's energy. And temporary happiness means somebody does something you like. And permanent happiness means you get it. It's okay, whatever. Temporary happiness is definitely visible for a short time on the faces of those who have temporary attainments. However, spiritual happiness definitely makes you happy. That means you feel good because of what you have achieved from Baba, not because of what's going on. So, and the vibrations of spiritual happiness also reach other souls. Other souls also experience peace and power. It is like a tree which is full of fruit, gives people the experience of coolness for a short time with its cool shade, and they become happy. Happy in the sense of they get relief from the hot weather. So one kind of happiness is relief. Yeah. So in the same way, souls who are full of the fruit of godly attainments and spiritual happiness Give others the experience of peace and strength in the body and mind with the shade of their attainments. Right? Normally, if somebody is ill and their body is weak, they look miserable. And then everybody doesn't want to come and see them. Yeah, but if they are having a problem with the body, but still the stage is visible on the face, and what they say is, I'm fine, then it's really, really good. Like rays of the sun, the vibrations of happiness make you forget the atmosphere, the people, and everything else, and changes everything into an experience of true spiritual peace and happiness. So you have come to terms with everything. Whatever happened in the past, good, bad, or indifferent, it's okay. You're all right with it. Whatever's going on now, it's okay. You're all right with it. And whether it's just or unjust, it's okay. Whether all of these good or bad things that normally change your mood because of knowledge, because of powers, you're all right with it. It is what it is. At the present time, souls without knowledge spend a lot of money in order to be happy in their lives, right? In the United States, we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, means the pursuit of more money. So that you can have a nice house, wear nice brand name clothes, and have a nice latest, greatest technical devices, and have a nice car, and go on a nice holiday. But you won't be happy because this part is missing. So what did you people spend? Without spending any money, you stay constantly happy, don't you? Or are you only happy when other people help you to be happy? Bap Dada was checking the children's charts, and what did he see? One kind of child is the one who is constantly happy. Then another kind of child is those who are happy but not constantly. And Baba saw 3 types of happiness. Are you happy with yourself? Do you like who you are? Do you have a clean conscience? When you have the, one of the attainments of meditation is to realize that the best thing of all is that you are you, not somebody else. It's a very, very nice experience. Second is happiness with others. Everyone has their own flavor, their own sanskaras. And you can find fault with anyone. It's really easy. But if you accept people the way they are and flex with them, that's good for harmonious relations. So happiness with others. And then happiness in doing service. Daddy Janki used to tell us when people would ask, okay, what is the best kind of service? And she would say, whatever comes in front of you to do that. Because that is what's needed. So if you need to give a lecture, do that. If you need to fix the car, do that. If you need to sweep the floor, do that. If you need to cook, do that. If you need to take care of someone who's in trouble, do that. Because whatever comes in front of you is like drama is presenting a circumstance, and then you have to see how much you can make it profitable. This is service. Sometimes people were saying that they not doing any service, but their presence is really nice and inspires people. Just their presence. This is service. Oh, Mario did a lot of things, but he definitely did that. Yeah. So if you are happy in all three, with yourself, with others, and in doing service, it means that you have pleased Bapdada, automatically pleased. And the souls with whom the Father is pleased are always embodiments of success. So success is not about being famous or being, notable or anything like that, but these three things. Bapdada saw that some children are unhappy with themselves. How do you get unhappy with yourself? Is if someone said something bad to you and you keep thinking it's true. Or else you think they shouldn't have said it. That makes you unhappy with yourself. So it's very important to get this quality that whatever anybody says about you or to you about something, it doesn't make any difference, because what Baba says to you about you is the real stuff. Because the most unreliable thing of all, bear this in mind, the most unreliable thing of all is public opinion. And the BK public has a ton of different opinions about each other. Don't think about that. That's okay, yeah, very nice, yeah, good opinion. You're welcome to your opinion. So don't be unhappy about yourself from public opinion. But they are unhappy because of little things. Although they know the first lesson of who am I? A pure, peaceful, powerful, loveful, blissful, Swadarshan Chakradhari, Trinetri, Trikaldarshi, Trilokinath, etc., etc. And if somebody says, oh, you're a nincompoop or an idiot, or you didn't do this right, oh, really? Okay. So what? So you have to be yourself. They forget what the Father has made them and what the Father has given them. The Father has given each child a right to the full inheritance. So you know what the inheritance is, right? The Gyan, the powers, the virtues. Have you got it? All of it? Yeah. He did not give some children the full inheritance and other children half the inheritance. Has anyone received only half or a quarter of the inheritance? Have you only been given half, or have you only taken half? The Father has given everyone the blessing and the inheritance of being a Master Almighty Authority. That means Sarva Shaktivan. Sarva Shaktivan means you have all the powers. It isn't that he has given you children some powers, but has not given other powers. What you'll find if you check yourself is you do have some powers and not other powers. And so that means that you will get circumstances which will come to you to let you know that you don't have this or that power. And that means that you need to take it more than you have. Or that means inculcate it, develop it, cultivate it, find out what it is. then you have it. Baba has not kept anything for himself. He has filled you with all the virtues and made you the embodiments of all attainments, but you are unable to accommodate in yourself the attainments that you have received from the Father. You know, he says you are okay, and you still say, no, I'm not okay. Maybe I'm not okay. Maybe somebody might criticize me, da, 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 da. Those are called waste thoughts. So just as while having physical wealth and all facilities, if you don't know how to spend the money or use the facilities, right? Everybody has a cell phone, right? You all have a cell phone. But some people know how to use all the things that it does, but a lot of people don't. And so they can't take advantage of what they got. So in the same way, there are people. I had one friend who was a banker, woman, and she said there are so many people, they got so much money, they don't even know what they've got. And they live like poor people because they don't know, or they don't know how to use it. Surprising, but it is like that. So you don't know how to spend the money or use the facilities. So too, while having all these attainments from Baba, you remain deprived of them. In the same way, you have all the attainments and treasures, but you don't know the way to use them. So this is very important, the way to use them. You don't know how to use them at the right time. So the right way and the right time. Then you say, oh, I realize I should have done that, or I shouldn't have done that, but I forgot at the time. Now I understand that it should not be like that, but 10 minutes later you go back to the same old, same old. So if at that time, even a second passes, you won't be able to reach your destination of success because the train of time will have departed to do the right thing at the right time because you have only 1 second in which to do it. And if you miss the train, then you miss the train. If you were delayed by a second or by an hour, the time would have gone. And then when the train of time has departed, you become disheartened with yourselves and the sanskaras of unhappiness emerge. Because things happen very fast. An opportunity comes and you have a window of opportunity that lasts maybe 1 or 2 seconds. And if you don't jump at it, you miss it. Why would you not jump at it? Is because you're not sure of yourself. And to be unsure of oneself is not right. Then you say, my fortune is like that, my part in drama is like that. So you were told earlier there are 2 main reasons for being unhappy with oneself. Very important reasons. One is you are disheartened. That means you do not think highly of yourself. You remember we had to do this talk about being assertive and bold, but not arrogant. And it's a little bit like that. Being sure of yourself doesn't mean being arrogant, but it does mean taking the opportunities that come and not preventing oneself. So the second one is feeling jealous. When you feel jealous, you're comparing yourself with someone else and you see that they are in a better situation than you. And so then you don't like them. because of that. That's called jealousy. So when you put yourself down, you feel disheartened, or you see someone else and you feel, why do they have and not me? So then you're not happy with yourself. So you feel jealous seeing the specialities, the fortune, and the parts of others. Then you have less courage and greater feelings of jealousy. So courage would mean that you go ahead and you do your pure karma, you get your good position and whatnot. But you see somebody and put yourself down, then greater jealousy and less courage. Neither can those who are disheartened be ever happy, nor can those who are jealous, because in both cases, the desires of such souls can never be fulfilled. Desire means you get something, but then you see something else that you haven't got, then you get that, and then you see something else that you haven't got, and you keep being dissatisfied. Desires do not allow you to become good. So good means I'm okay. What do you need? You have what you need. So therefore, you're not able to be happy. So in order to be happy, constantly keep one thing in your intellect. One very interesting thing, Baba says, according to the rules of drama. Did you know there are rules of drama? According to the rules of drama, at the confluence age, each Brahman soul has definitely been given at least one speciality. So are you aware of your speciality, which distinguishes you from everyone else? Can you name it? No? Can you name it? No, but write down in your book, what is my speciality? And don't go to sleep until you answered that question. Because you need to know what you have been gifted with. Everyone has gifts, right? These gifts are called specialities. And you use your gifts to cultivate and develop yourself. So even if it is the last bead of the rosary of 16,000, that soul has also been given one speciality or another. Go further than that. Even out of the 900,000 souls who have been remembered, and they remembered, like they say, there are 900,000 stars in the sky, so they're remembered that way. So each one has been given one speciality or another. What happens with Brahmins, right? You tend to notice and note what your shortcomings are, because you think keeping your chart means writing down all your failings and shortcomings. That's only half the chart. The other half is specialities. So one very interesting little game that BKs play sometimes is to tell each other what they see in each other as specialities. And that's actually very positive, very positive. So the first thing is to recognize your own speciality. You can recognize other people's speciality, but can you recognize your own? As yet, you have not reached 900,000 who have recognized the speciality of the fortune of Brahman life. So that's the first speciality of all Brahmins, is that you recognize God, you know you're a soul, you know how to create good fortune, you understand your lives. So recognize that and use it. Do not become disheartened or jealous, seeing the specialities of others. You are Brahmins. Don't say, oh, I'm not a Brahmin. So many people, they say, oh, I'm not perfect, therefore I'm not a Brahmin. This is faulty logic. I am a Brahmin, becoming a perfect Brahmin. Everybody's that. So do not become disheartened or jealous seeing the specialities of others, but use your own speciality. And that one speciality will bring other specialities. When you put a zero in the way that in India they write the numbers is different from Roman numerals. So they write dots, which refer to a zero. So when you write a dot, a zero, after a one, it becomes 10. And then you put another one, it becomes 100. And you put another one, it becomes 1,000. So every time you recognize who you are, you're adding another zero to yourself, to your value. Just dot, dot, dot. That's all you have to do. Do you like that? So you know this calculation, don't you? To use it means to increase it. Do not look at others, but use your speciality. For example, Baba usually or always gives the example of Bholi Dadi. Did you know Bholi Dadi? Yeah. So Bholi Dadi, Bholi means somebody who's very naive and innocent. And she came into Gyan in the beginning, and she had a daughter with her. And her Baba gave her to look after the kitchen. And her speciality was that she was always present. Anyone came anytime who was hungry, she would arrange for them to have food. And whatever situation they had with diet or whatever, she would accommodate it. She would not get, like over strict with people or anything like that. So Boli Dadi, everybody was very happy with her. So the names of the Maharatis may sometimes be mentioned, but her name is always mentioned. She uses her speciality. Even though she just looks after the kitchen, by using her speciality, she is remembered as a special soul. So her speciality was generosity and caring. When everyone speaks of Madhuban, they talk about the dadis, but they also talk about Boli Dadi. She doesn't give lectures, but she herself has become special by using her specialities. Others also look at her and see her as special. So what will you do to be happy? Use your specialities and they will increase. Then, when you develop all of them, you will become full. So the basis of happiness is fullness. Those who are happy with themselves will be happy with others and with service too. That's a very key point. Happy with yourself. I am okay. Yes or no? They will please others with whatever service they are given to do, and they will claim a number ahead. The biggest service, the greatest service, will be done by your images of happiness. Images of happiness means that, that you see the idols of the goddesses. They may be doing pretty fierce activities, but there's smiling face. Stick needles into different demons and riding lions. But so what did you hear? What charts Baba saw? So interesting, huh? The teachers. Now, Baba's talking to the teachers. Teachers have the fortune of sitting at the front. So in the big gathering, they put the teachers in the front because you come as guides. So you bring people from your different centers and you work very hard. You will call someone from Sukdam and another one from Vishal Bhavan. You get very good exercise. So in Madhuban, there's quite large territory that you have to walk from A to B. So you get good exercise. Baba says you don't go for walks at the centers. But when service first began, you daddies used to go everywhere on foot, didn't you? Your senior daddies also used to go on foot. Daddy Janki would talk about how she would go for service on foot. She would walk like 10, 15 miles on foot to visit someone at a hospital or go and do a lecture or something like this. They would carry one piece of baggage and go on foot. Nowadays, all of you have come at a time when everything is ready-made, and so you are lucky, aren't you? You have got ready-made centers. The buildings are your own. Previously, they used to live on the bank of the river Jamuna. This is the first center that they made, was like a hut. And it didn't have a door. So on the edge of the river, they would just do tapasya. Dadi Prakash Mani and all were there. And then the first student came and asked, can I do anything? They said, can you put a door? So they could close the door at night at least. So, when we started in San Francisco, we had nothing. We used to make furniture out of fruit crates that we found outside the supermarket, things like that. But we thought it was good fun. So it wasn't a problem. Or you sleep on a piece of wood. Or you would buy $1 plastic bag full of foam chips and make that into your mattress. Yeah, we were very creative and we had a good time. So they had just the one room, their bedroom at night and service room during the day. However, you are now eating the fruit of the fortune of the renunciation they had with happiness. You have come at the time of eating the fruit. They sowed the seeds, and you are reaping the fruit. It is very easy to eat fruit, isn't it? Now, let such quality fruit emerge. Do you understand? The quantity already exists, and that too is needed. You want to reach 900,000, and so both quality and quantity are needed. So when the BKs did get 900,000 BKs, they said to Baba, okay, we got 900,000, now what should we do? So he said, 900,000 good ones. So quality. So a quality Brahmin is one who really understands, not just who says yes, yes, but doesn't understand. However, at least prepare a strong rosary of 16,000. Now, especially underline doing the service of quality souls. In every group, there are teachers and also Kumaris, but the Kumaris don't emerge, surrender. So in the early days, you would have centers and you would need Kumaris to come and stay in the centers, but then they don't want to come. They like Madhuban and they also love the Father, but they have to think about before they surrender themselves. Those who offer themselves are able to move along without any obstacles. Whereas those who move along, having been told to do so, they come to a standstill and then start moving along. So whatever you're doing, always do it because you want to, not because somebody told you have to. There's no power in that. They would repeatedly tell you, these Kumaris, that we have told you in advance that we will not surrender. Some of them think it's better to stay outside the centers and do service. But there is definitely a difference between staying outside and doing service and doing service having renounced everything. So those who understand the importance of surrendering have stepped aside from many things and have come here easily and freed themselves from having to work hard in many respects. Well, nowadays, we don't have surrendered BKs anymore. We got tons and tons of BKs. And it's not in a time of big growth where you need lots and lots of teachers and this and that. So it's different. Adi Genki stopped the surrendering system for people in Western countries quite a long time ago. So teachers, you understand very well how important you are, don't you? Are you all teachers? Are you capable of teaching the 7 days course? Yes. Are you capable of taking up any responsibility that comes along? Yes. Teachers. So understand how important you are. Are those who do both tasks, their jobs and this service, good, or are those who only do this service good? Those Kumaris still have to play double parts. Although they are free from bondage, they still have double parts, whereas you have only one part. Double part means you have to look after your job and then service activities of the center. But if you are in bondage, that means you have your parents, husband, children, and then you have to look after that. Householders have to play 3 roles: studying, serving, and sustaining their household. You have become free from all things, Kumaris. Acha, to the elevated souls who are constantly full of the speciality of happiness, to the sensible and essence-full souls who always recognize their specialities and use them, to the great souls who are constantly happy and have the greatness of making others happy, Bapdada's love, remembrance, and namaste. Then Bapdada was meeting the groups from Agra and Rajasthan. So, do you always consider yourselves to be the elevated souls sitting on your immortal thrones? You souls are immortal, and your thrones are also immortal. The immortal throne is your body. And why is it immortal? Every time you die, you get a new one. So, you souls do so much work while seated on these thrones. With the awareness that each of you is a soul seated on a throne, you automatically have the awareness that you have a right to Swaraj, self-sovereignty, independence. When a king is seated on his throne, he naturally has the intoxication, the pride, and happiness of his kingdom. To be seated on the throne means to be a king who has Swaraj, independence, self-sovereignty. You don't need self-sovereignty if you're a king, you need independence. Self-sovereignty means you're always fighting against yourself to assert your dominance over yourself. So I prefer the meaning of self-sovereignty as independence. You're not dependent on your sanskaras, on other people, on your past, present, future. You are free soul, independent. You're in your power. Yeah? By having this awareness, all your physical organs will automatically follow your orders. The Father's heart is a heart throne for those who move along considering themselves to be seated on their immortal thrones. Because by understanding yourselves to be souls, you remember the Father. Then there are no bodies, no bodily relations, and no material things. You dispossess yourself. This is a very good practice, to dispossess yourself of all the things that you would use the word mine for. This is not my child, this is not my this is not my that, it's Baba's. And I'm looking after it on his behalf. Is that right? Yes. And that frees you from public opinion. The one Father is your whole world. Therefore, those who are seated on their immortal thrones are also seated on the Father's heart throne. The children who belong to one Father and none other remain in the Father's heart. So you have a double throne, your body and the Father's heart. Beloved, long lost, now found children are always made to sit in the lap. So they're made to sit up high, not on the floor. So the Father too says, sit on the throne. Do not get down from the throne. Would those who are given a throne sit anywhere else? So do not forget your immortal throne or the heart throne, and then come into the soil of the body, into the dirt of the body. The body is dust, right? Isn't it? Your body is a leather bag filled with warm mud and a few sticks to keep it in shape. So that's not you. That's dust. You say dust to dust, don't you? So to come into a body means to come into the consciousness of dust. Royal children never play in the dirt, in the dust. Godly children are the most royal of all. So do you enjoy sitting on the throne, or do you have a little desire to sit in the dirt? Some children have a habit of eating dirt and playing with dirt. Have you seen that? Now they pick up the dirt and eat it. So you're not like that, are you? You have played in the dirt for 63 births, and the Father is now making you sit on a throne. So how can you play in the dirt? Those who play in the dirt become dirty. So you too became so dirty. The Father has now cleaned you, and by having this awareness, stay constantly powerful. Those who are powerful don't become weak. To become weak means to contract an illness of Maya. You have now become healthy for all time. Your souls have become powerful. Karmic accounts of your bodies is another matter. But your minds have become powerful, haven't they? Your bodies are weak and do not function. They are your last bodies, and so it will happen like that. But the souls must be powerful. You souls must not become weak when your bodies are weak. So always remember that you are those who are going to be seated on the double throne and have a double crown. Acha. All of you are content, aren't you? To be content means to be happy. Are you constantly happy or only sometimes? You are not happy sometimes and unhappy at other times, are you? Many people, they get depressed, right? How do you get depressed? Mostly, yes. Thinking not just bad thoughts about yourself, but you reduce yourself in your own eyes. And that's how you get depressed. And you listen to public opinion. And then you engage in faulty logic as a shortcut to depression, faulty logic. And you stay there. So be very careful about your logic whenever you say therefore. It's usually not right. Because in logic, you have a statement and then another statement about it and a conclusion. But your first statement is generally wrong. So your conclusion will be wrong also. Your first statement, maybe I'm not okay. Maybe Baba doesn't think very highly of me. Therefore, I should be as unhappy as possible. This is an example of faulty logic. What? Don't do that. So, do you ever become unhappy with certain situations? Say, today I did this. Today this happened. Yesterday that happened. So bear in mind the predestination of drama. You did this, okay, so what? It's predestined. Move on. Yes? Will you do that? No? Yeah. Whatever you did wrong, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Pay your debt and go. So what? Yeah. You pay your dues, do your time. Thank you. Let's go. So you don't write letters like that, do you? Those who are constantly happy also make others happy with their spiritual vibrations. Do not think, I am constantly happy anyway. No, become constantly happy. Have the power of happiness will definitely spread. Are you happy to the extent that you can make others happy too? Or are you happy by only being happy with yourself? If you also make others happy, no such letters will be received. If someone sends a letter of unhappiness, send it back to them. Remember this time and this date, and yes, write this letter. I am okay, and others are also okay with me. Just write these 2 lines, that's all. I am okay, and others are okay with me, even if they're not. How does that work? Well, it's a very good question. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Why do you spend so much money? These 2 lines can also be written on a postcard, so don't write long letters so you have to put more postage on it. Some people send cards every day. Don't send cards every day. You send a card with okay twice a month, every fortnight. Do not write long stories. And this happened, and that happened. No. Okay. Have a nice day. Very good. Now make others happy with your happiness. It's an angle on life. You know, this whole thing is a circus. So you don't go to the circus to get depressed. You pay good money to go to the circus. Have you seen the Cirque du Soleil? No? You must go see it. They're really good. There's one, you can find it maybe on the YouTube somewhere. It's called Alegria. Alegria means happiness, and it's a really good show, Alegria. Anyway, Alegria is Spanish for happiness. So the blessing is, may you be a spiritual server who achieves success in doing service. You can look up that song, Alegria, and we can play it afterwards so that you all get happy with that. So may you be a spiritual server who achieves success in doing service with the powers to accommodate and to face. Spiritual servers cannot think of anything except doing service. They do not even take rest for a second in their thoughts, words, and actions, and this is why they are best. That's the one, top one. Yeah, but the song, yeah. So, and put it in the chat so everybody can watch this show and experience happiness in the middle of a big circus of all kinds of dramas that go on, like life, you know. So, in order to achieve success in doing service, they always remember the slogan, to accommodate and to face is our goal. So, whatever anybody's doing, include it in the drama. Accommodate means include. And face means set boundary. So to discern when to include and when to set boundary, that's a very good capability. So they accommodate their old sanskaras and they face Maya, not the divine family. Such children, along with being knowledgeable, are also powerful. They are said to be spiritual servers. And the slogan is, do not make small things big, but make the atmosphere powerful. If you focus on a small thing and make it into a big thing, it makes a bad atmosphere. And then eggshells. So, a Murli full of practical wisdom. So, you want to play Alegria? It's quite a long song, so just play it for a couple of minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Well, we have some questions pending, so okay, we'll put it at the end.
I am okay, and others are also okay with me. You enforced it, and now you're saying that.
No, I am okay, and others are okay with me. Flexibility, it's okay. And you know, if you think you're not okay, you will easily think that others are not okay with you. Is it right? Yeah. But if you think you're okay, whether you are okay or not, it's a matter of opinion, you know. But if you decide, okay, I am okay, then you feel easy about yourself. Because it's a decision. It's you can't really mix up facts with attitudes. It's different. Like, for example, the knowledge of drama, which Baba gives us so deep. And the knowledge of drama is whatever happens is okay. And there will be very few people in this world who will agree with you. And they will say, no, this is not okay, that is not okay, the other is not okay. Where was God when this happened? But he says, no, it is okay, but you have to find out what's okay about it. And some things like, okay, the destruction. The lead up to destruction is pandemics, not just COVID, there'll be more. Exploding volcanoes, not just Indonesia, there'll be more. The whole Pacific Ring of Fire is moving. That means we're on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and anytime we can have a major earthquake. anytime. And then, are you ready? No. So if you're ready, it's more okay than if you're not ready, right? So make sure you're ready. And anytime there can be some kind of civil disturbance, are you ready for that? So he says all of these things are good. Why are they good? Because they really make people remember God. Because you're somewhat powerless in the face of these big disturbances. And why it's good is because it's necessary for the end of the cycle to start a new one. So when you decide something's good or bad, it depends on your criteria for what's good and bad. So in the same way, when you say, I am okay, you're not perfect. If you would be perfect, you would die. So you don't want to be perfect quite yet, unless you want to die right now. But you can't be perfect right yet because it's not time. But you're okay with yourself. I am okay. You're doing your best, right? Your best is never good enough. So that's just something that's a known piece of data. But you're doing your best and it's okay. And you understand Gyan to the extent that you understand it. And as you continue to study, you understand it better. So that is also okay, right? And whoever you live with, that's who you got. That's okay. 50-50. Everybody's 50-50. 50% light, 50% dark. That's just the way it is. And you are with whoever you have some karmic accounts with or not. It doesn't matter where you are, you will be with someone. Okay, no, but it's interesting. I'll just repeat what you were saying, that you live in certain circumstances. Somebody is okay or not okay, but they say, look, I'm in the family, I'm here, so that's it. Yeah, I'm here. And that's true. I'm here. So we have to harmonize. Everyone is different, playing a different tune, singing a different song. But the purpose of all this circus that we are in is to understand deep things, subtle things, what's going on here. So you get a distant perspective from it, you see it. There are important messages and lessons, you see it. But this fundamental idea that I am a pure, peaceful, powerful, loveful, blissful being of light, and I'm playing my pre-recorded, predestined part in drama, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So that's that. That means you're asserting who you are. Because if you think that I'm not okay, you go like this, and you cannot function. And this is why there's a problem with the religions who say you are a sinner and we have to fix you because God's not doing a good job, so we'll give you this and that problem. But he says, hey, don't do that. You're a pure, peaceful, powerful, loveful, blissful being of light. Here are the rules and regulations. Here's the circumstances. Now have a nice time. Yes? So, rules and regulations, you got to be vegetarian, right? BK, vegetarian. Remember Baba. Practice different varieties of purity. Be soul conscious. Enjoy the Murli. Meditate. Do service. Create fortune. Don't waste your time. Some kinds of have fun is wasting your time, but value your time. He says, value your time, value who you are, recognize who you are. This was the key message of today's Murli. Recognize who you are and recognize what you got and use it. You know, they say use it or you lose it. So our inheritance, the Gyan, it's free. And it's gigantic. And it's called jewels. So play with the jewels, you get wealthy. And powers. Go in every variety of horrible situation. Go into yourself. You will find you have the power. And this Murli was specially face and accommodate. So when you're in the gathering, you have to face all sorts of things and accommodate all sorts of things. But he said, face Maya. And Maya is your response to situations that destabilize you emotionally. Maya. And boundaries. Put boundaries. Set your limits and boundaries. And assert who you are without being arrogant. That was a good topic that we had last week or so. So these are very wise teachings, very wise. The danger is this tendency to get depressed, which is a form of arrogance. Why I say it's a form of arrogance is because the way he talks about ego is like a superiority and inferiority, the two sides of the same coin. And what he wants us to do is be who we are, not higher than or lower than. And it's very difficult to be who you are because everybody around you keeps looking at you, projecting stuff, you know. So not accepting projection is a very key ingredient because people are prejudiced and they project their prejudices on you and then they look at you like that. And when you are in body consciousness, living on the surface of your body, you take that in. So if you have a good sense of humor and stay in your own sense of self, it'll be a little bit easier to detect when something's trying to put one on you. And you think I'm an apple, I'm an orange. You're blind or something?
When does evaluating the situation and evaluating yourself come in the picture when you're saying I'm okay?
The situation is there. First thing is you're an actor and you're playing a role. So maybe you may think of the situation in that family. Baba talked about the householder has to do three things. You're looking after the people, you do your work, and you do your spiritual service. All three things. So there's a balance in that. But what is your identity? Your identity is, I'm a direct child of God, I'm a direct student of God, and he's turning me into a deity who is also a king. So that's your fundamental starting point. This is who I am. And then you're an actor, so you play this role, and you do not play the role according to the opinion of the public. Because the public opinion will always make you feel bad about yourself. That's just how the setup is in this kind of circumstance. And so you need to really see what the Gyan is, so that you can set your boundaries, what you need to do and what you don't need to do according to God. And you see that there is a difference, quite a sharp difference between what the public puts on you, that if you are a good mother, you will be this, that, and the other. If you are a good wife, you will be this, that, and the other. They do this if-then, faulty logic. What it really means is we enjoy sticking needles into you and see you jump. And Baba says, what? You allow that? Don't allow that. That's not your dignity. And so you need to see first, this is who I am. And then they will play games to make you move away from who you are. You understand what I'm saying? And so if you have a good sense of humor, you'll be able to play good, sharp shots back. You will use your wit, you will use your gyan, and you will keep the thing in balance. Don't let them come into a position of power over you, because then you will feel depressed. Because what is this? This is a cartoon going on. And in good cartoons, the little guy, the mouse, usually gets the better of the cat, right? So don't be such that you can be victimized just because of the statements that people make, which are calculated to make you feel insecure or bad about yourself, or you're not doing a good job, or blah, 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 blah. It's calculated. It's a whole big setup. And you can find all the ingredients for that setup. If you read the Manusmriti, you will see the game. It's all there. But nobody reads it, though I recommend this a lot. It's a very long book, and you will get very irritated with it because it's teaching people to be really bad to each other. And so it's not right. But because people don't get it, they create this situation of victim and perpetrator. And Baba says, don't do that. Don't buy into that game. That's not a good game. There are better games. Oh, you got the Manusmriti. There it is. People ask who wrote the Manusmriti. The Manusmriti is an eponymous scripture. Eponymous is a word that means lots of guys wrote it and none of them put their name to it because they didn't want anybody to know who did it. Man of Dharma Shastra, the first man and lawgiver Manu, but there's no such person as Manu. Manu is the patriarchal people who wanted to make sure that they're always in a position of dominance over women in particular, and lower caste people also. And that's the setup. And if everyone is absolutely virtuous and in their power, then it's not dangerous. But when people don't have confidence and they're not in their power and they are handling different kinds of traumas, then it's very toxic. So at the moment, what Baba is telling is a very good way to get free from the toxic effect of this very biased system. And he does that by saying, all of you are genderless, colorless, casteless, cultureless, languageless, pure, peaceful, powerful, blissful, loveful beings of light. And you are in circumstances where nobody knows that. And everybody looks at it in that opposite angle. And this is your exam hall. Yeah, look, guide to becoming a good woman. That's example of what I'm saying. Is it fraudulent, illogical, dead against?
Totally fraudulent, illogical.
The thing is, it's very powerful because the ideas that are in it are all over the Bible, the Quran, the Dhampad, everything. It's packed full of those ideas. And it's because they think that, the dominant males in a society are the owners of everybody else. And so the first key, I think, that Baba gives us is you are not an object. And even people think of you as an object, like a woman is an object. Because if you take away the body, there isn't a woman, there's a soul. You see, in that sense, a man is also an object. Take away the body and there's no man, there's just a soul. You see, and then God is talking to souls, not bodies. So to divest ourselves of all this stuff that's been put upon us for 63 births through the society, the religions, the drama, the karma, the this, that, and make yourself free. That's a very big job. But that's what we're doing. It's okay. I'm okay. Can you say, I'm okay? And really, yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't care. You blast me to smithereens, you can't destroy me. I'm a soul, so have a nice day. Boom. It's like you dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and keep going. And these failings and shortcomings and all these things, they are temporary. They're not your identity, but they're glued to you. So to unglue that is a big job. Okay, let's go back to our questions in case there are any questions.
Yeah, at the beginning of Copper Age, when these very highly elevated souls start to become body conscious, what happens that the souls in women body, feminine body, female body, they start to feel low of themselves. The Manusmriti is not yet written.
Okay. What happened is in the beginning of Copper Age, according to the temples that there are, especially you have this temple called Jagannath, and you have the scripture called Kama Sutra. So they all started to see how beautiful they were physically.
No.
In the Copper Age, you saw the beauty of each other, physical beauty. In Golden Age and Silver Age, you were much more beautiful, but you didn't see it. You just, like it was there. It wasn't like something that, and these problems where women started to feel low about themselves happened consequently to the negative karma that was built up during the Copper Age. So this stuff, all this Iron Age stuff, according to my research, it really didn't happen in the Copper Age. And Baba had said in a few Murlis that it was a slow decline. But what happened is that the spiritual power of people came down. It stopped functioning. and they had to start using physical power, and they became impacted by sense perception. So in Golden Age and Silver Age, everything is choreographed based on what happened in the Confluence Age. But then all of a sudden, it became like real, and so it's different. And all the arrangements fell apart. The power lines, the grid lines for all the technology fell apart. So the karmic accounts got built up, and then the social leaders created this system because they thought, okay, because there's conflict between men and women, they thought the best way to handle it is to put the men in charge and make the women do what they say, because then everything would be fine. And maybe it worked for a little while, but then the karmic account continued to build up, and then it became very unbalanced. And so now you've got a situation where everything is extremely unbalanced. And you were asking me the other day, because I keep on saying you got half your births are male, half your births are female. And you said there was no record of anyone experiencing a past birth in another gender. But what you do get is people, and there are many examples of this, people who experience someone in another gender who is sort of invading their consciousness. But because they're another gender, they don't realize it's them, because they're so gender conscious in the stories of reincarnation. So you do get that. The person is remembering a past birth, and they're remembering a past birth of another gender, but they don't think that's their own past birth. They think it's somebody else, right? But actually it's them. And what that means to me is people are so gender conscious. Like even in the Murli, yesterday's Murli was talking about his or her soul. Excuse me, there's no his soul and her soul, or a him soul or a her soul. That doesn't happen. But people, even BKs, very gender conscious. And then, in the system of BK, you put the brothers on one side and the sisters on the other side. Why? Because of the social attitudes, not because of anything else, but also because the BKs themselves or ourselves, very gender conscious. And so the biggest thing to come out of is gender consciousness. And so when you think of yourself as a dot, it's pretty difficult to determine the gender of a dot. Doesn't have one. And when you're looking at skeletons, male skeletons and female skeletons are quite similar, more similar than male bodies and female bodies with all the flesh on it. So that's also a yukti. See a person as their bones. If you can't see the soul, you can at least see the bones, or take an x-ray. When you go to the airport, they always do the full scan. And so you have to find some way to dispossess yourself of the consciousness of gender, color of body, and caste, and race, and culture, because they're just come to you from the outside. And so Baba says that go deep into the inside to separate yourself from all that. And that is not easy. Because as soon as you come into action, all of this starts playing again. And then you see, you get a lot of people who are, what do you call it, gender confused. And there's new kinds of genders here. I don't know what they are. There's every day you get some new kind of gender emerging, that I'm sometimes male and other times female. That's on the physical level. You have a hermaphrodite, or you're gay, or you're this, or you're that. But because the culture we're in says you have to decide what gender you are. And if you don't really feel you have a body of a boy, but you feel like a girl, then people will say that you're a monster, or something wrong with you. And Baba says there's nothing to do with your identity anyway. But you see, it's put on people from birth. This is because this is body consciousness. And when a child is born, they ask, what is it? Is it a boy or a girl? It's a what? I'm not a what, I'm a who. And the who of a person is not limited to your body. You see? And the legal system, educational system, political system, economic system, the whole thing is skewed in favor of one set of categories and against another set of categories. And then Baba is saying you are a being. And you cannot express yourself except through a body. And your body is, in particular, your sense organs, because you experience the world through your sense organs. And everything that you experience through your sense organs is occurring in your mind. And is recorded in your soul. And it is misleading because it's just material impressions, and your capacity to interpret them, if you're soul conscious, will be very different from how you interpret it if you're body conscious. Because people will say to you, you are not a good whatever. And you say, oh, really? Because it's put on you. And that makes you depressed, you see. But if you instead say, interesting idea, welcome to your opinion, have a nice day, you stay in your power, you see. And that's what it's about, staying in your power. And they will do everything imaginable and unimaginable to disempower you. And so the problem is, you think you're greater than you are or less than you are. These are the two arrogances. And to be what you actually are is like total mystery. What are you actually? I have no clue, Who are you? You don't know. So then he said in the Murli today, a very useful key to who are you? What have I given you? Your gifts. Anyway, I gave you all the knowledge, which keeps coming every day. I gave you all the virtues, all the powers. So you got equipment to use to deal with all of this stuff that has contaminated your consciousness and messed you up. But, that's why we came to this school, to find out who we are in more detail, full detail, and become that. You see, and in the context of everything that tells you the opposite. And do it anyway. And for that, we need this power of yoga. You see, because nobody can go against somebody who's in their power. But they will try everything imaginable. And that's okay. You're a warrior, And Swaraj, you see, Swaraj is independence. You are not who you are because of some human being making a comment about you. That has nothing to do with the price of rice in China. Have a nice day. You must be able to say that. Otherwise, you have to say some nasty words, but have a nice day is better, right? Because you have to stand up for yourself. You have to defend yourself without getting into conflict.
Yeah, I'm still not clear. Then how do you, in a situation where you are and with people, then how do you give the message? Not correction, but then how do you give the message that there is something which needs to be?
It's all about how you respond to provocation. And it may be even the movement of an eyelash. It's that simple. I mean, subtle. And so somebody says something and your body language changes. So then they know they scored a point. But if you stay in what he says to us, stay in your seat of self-respect. I did long time ago this book about values and spirituality, so I have a set of those here. And in one of them, there is a thing about self-respect. So you have a look at that, because it's there was one Murli once that Baba made about your titles of self-respect. So I took some of those and made them into a little rosary and put the expressions on it. And then that is your, this is what I am, this is who I am. But because you've been trained in a Pavlovian way, this Pavlovian? Pavlov was some kind of a sociologist or something, or he trained dogs. That when you tell him this, you have this reaction. So the people, they train, especially the girls, they train the girls to move around according to these cues. And that's Pavlovian, and it affects everyone. And this is how they train soldiers. It's called training. And it's based on the idea that you're an animal and that you can be made to behave in a certain way. And then they push it on you. And it actually takes you away from your humanity and your spirituality. And so it's very toxic, but they think it's great. Maybe it's very convenient, but it's very toxic because it means that you're always dissociated from yourself. And so you can never be happy. And then this Murli is about being happy. So that means we have to reconnect with our actual self, which is not the body, the role, the whatever the society says you are. It's not that. But they will keep using these things. And we have to disconnect ourselves from that training. And it's deep. And so it takes a while to disconnect from it. And once you've disconnected from one bit of it, they'll try another bit. It's massive, massive. You remember in India, there is this many stories about an Englishman called Macaulay. Do you remember this? Well, when the British came to India to take over and everything, there was the East Indian Company, and they wanted to take everything, and exploitation and this and that. But many British people, they started to dress up in Indian clothes and adopt the Indian ways, and then the other English people were just distraught about this, and they wanted to put an end to that attraction of and taking on all these Indian ways, which were actually very good ways. And they wanted to subdue the Indians. And this character, Macaulay, he told the Queen Victoria that the only way that you can conquer India is by making the Indians feel bad about themselves. This is what they do, not just only to India, but to lots of people, because it means you have a small number of people who are the top dogs and everybody else is peanuts, and they tread upon them and exploit them and generally make them miserable. And this is man's inhumanity to man in 1,000 different ways. And so when Baba gives us this knowledge, it includes tools to neutralize the effect of that. And so we have to isolate those tools and start to activate them. You know, one interesting thing Baba said in the Murli today is that you have all the tools, but you don't know how to use them. So I think that our work, our churning is to really isolate these tools and talk about how to use them so that, you know, it doesn't mean that you just turn the tables and go against the people who've been going against you or whatever. It's not about that. It's to neutralize the whole thing so that we have a relationship with each other based on mutual benefit, you see. Because if you're soul conscious, powerful, virtuous, you know the knowledge, and you create a culture. Baba sometimes had been talking about Brahman culture, which we haven't quite figured out what that is, but we need to. And that's all to do with how to relate with each other as brothers and sisters, not predators and victims, or exploitation and exploitees, or however you want to call it. Because the society is built on that principle. And Baba says that's why it's hell. And he gives us different principles and make the same world into heaven. And so each and every one of us is in a context, whether it's a center or you're by yourself or you're at work or you're in home with your family, it's a context with all of this toxic ideas all over the place. And you're in it. And you have to make it the way Baba wants it to be. And that is the most difficult thing on the face of the earth. And we have to do it anyway. And we will, individually and collectively. And our cooperation with each other is to enable each other to achieve that. And that's called love. Right?
Last Baba's Avyakt Murli, in which Baba is asking us to do your subtle checking with the broad intellect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what wanted a little bit more in that.
Most BKs are very religious. And so they will approach Gyan in a religious manner, which means this is okay, this is not okay. They find fault. Because religious people are always finding out what's the sin, right? They're very interested in who's more sinful than whom. And then if God is not punishing them quite enough, they will add a little salt and pepper just in case. That's not useful, actually. So to shift from being religious to being spiritual is a big shift, a big deal. Because most people think that religious and spiritual is the same thing. But gradually you start to see the difference. It's like this this analogy of the swan who can separate milk and water. And water is like the religious stuff, and milk is the spiritual stuff. And when you have milk and water together, it's very difficult to separate them. And the best way to separate is the churning. Because anyway, when you get milk from a cow, it's got lots of water in it. And the process of churning is the process of extracting the butter from the milk. And the butter is the spiritual part, and the milk is water and buttermilk and whatever is the religious part. It's not bad, but it's religious as compared with spiritual. And when you do subtle checking, you have to analyze yourself to see to what extent you are still buying into this thing which he calls parmat. That's because parmat and manmat is the same thing. And parmat means concepts that have come from human beings. And that what I told you about the Manusmriti is totally the people who are in position of power and dominance, the social leaders. They decided this is the social laws, and we'll call it a scripture so that they think it came since the beginning of time. And that way, that's how it is. And when India became independent, and then they said that we have to have a constitution, then they made a committee and they created a constitution that was pretty much based on the American and the French Constitution of 1760 something, whatever that was. And that was in absolute clash with the Indian social laws, which are based on the Manusmriti. And the Manusmriti is absolutely not even close to human rights, not even close. Nobody has any rights unless they're the boss. That's the only one who has any rights. Everyone else is basically a slave and has to go accordingly. And then they thought that would make everything work, but it didn't. Then you have the system of the Constitution, like you're familiar with the American Constitution, presumably. And then we have another document that was created called the Declaration of Human Rights. Have you read it? Well, it's a good idea, because then you know what your rights are. According to the people who thought about this after the Second World War, because the Second World War, there was a lot of inhumanity. And so if you see the Declaration of Human Rights, it will tell you what your rights are about, you cannot get married below a certain age. You have a right to a living wage. You have a right to a fair trial. You have a right, all these different rights. These are your rights. And you need to know that. That's a very, very good document. It was made by Eleanor Roosevelt, 1945, after the Second World War. Because the Second World War was so bad, 88 million people were killed, and most of which by starvation. And that was less than 100 years ago, you see. And in order to ensure that this doesn't happen again, they made the United Nations, they made the Declaration of Human Rights, etc., etc. And you should read it, because it applies in your workplace, in your family, in your center, etc., etc., and that you have a right to stand up for what your rights are, you see. But when you have, without any education, you're just told stuff from left and right, you get a mishmash of ideas which you think is the truth, and you live on that basis, and it's got all these things inside it where people can keep you under control. And the more traditional the society is, the more strong that is. And India is an extremely traditional society. And then you see the problem you have in a society like United States is racism. And there's pecking order according to the period of time when that particular wave of immigration came, because the United States is all immigrated people, immigrants. And you go Europe is older, and so it's more of that. But India is very old, and the Arabic countries extremely that way, because it's all codified in the Quran. In India, they have lots and lots of different scriptures, and the Western world, you have the Bible. It's all codified in the Bible, so designed that way. But then when God comes along and says, I don't know, I don't think they got it right. No, not at all. They think they're men or women. No, they're not. They're souls. I have to tell them. He tells, but he puts this knowledge into this plate full of religious ideas and mixes it up, and then you can't tell the difference. So you have to churn to extract it. And then, okay, now what will I do? How will I do this? Because when you analyze yourself with a broad intellect, you take into consideration all these things, and you analyze yourself carefully. That means not as what they've told you are, not as a woman, not as a housewife, not as a this or that, no, as a soul who has had 84 births. Analyze yourself like that. You are genderless, colorless, cultureless. Vishnu, what is Vishnu? Androgynous. It's very difficult to be playing a role where people think that is your identity. And then I think this best key that he gives is stay in your seat of self-respect so that people cannot project onto you what is implied in their ideas, that like, if you are a good mother, therefore, no. All wrong. Faulty logic. And how the BKs say, a woman is sacrifice herself to everybody and everything all the time, 24/7. Thank you very much. What? Who invented that? Where is the equilibrium? Where is the reasonableness? No. They just want to make you a slave. Why? Selfishness. Hey, is that spiritual? Wait a minute. What is this? Faulty logic. And whenever it comes, you have to be so sharp to catch it and say, faulty logic, faulty logic, faulty logic. I am a very good mother. You don't like it? Have a nice day. My conscience is clean and clear. I am under direction of God. Thank you very much. I know what to do. And do it in your power. And you will do it correctly. Of course, everybody makes mistakes all the time, but you fix it. You see? But not under the dominance of that selfishness, because it isn't valid, you see. And you have to be very sharp to be able to argue for your position. And this is why Baba tells us churn, because you get the ideas come in. And this is how it is. And then you have the sanskaras of being a slave. You have to go against your sanskaras of being abused and put down and blah, blah, blah. And that's another thing, you had to be sharp inside. So he said, face Maya in the end, right? Face Maya, not other people. Face your own response to their provocation. And if you think that they are there especially to enable you to pinpoint your own susceptibility to those games, in that sense, they're very useful to you, because if they weren't there, you wouldn't do it for yourself. You know, the best way to get rid of your ego is find some other people who are happy to do it for you, because they will find it and stick pins in you, and then you have to deal with it, you see. And it's a lifelong process, of course, but don't give up, because you will get there. Every cycle you make it, and this cycle also. Lot of questions and not much time. What shall we do?
Take it anyway. Take the questions anyway.
Take the questions anyway. What were you saying, Mary? Oh, a 4-minute song. We haven't got to the end yet, so we have to play the 4-minute song. So I will try to answer the questions fast. Okay.
Write the questions.
Okay. Write the questions.
One of the human rights is right to have human rights.
The right to have human rights. Yeah, right. That's right.
No one can take away my human rights. That is one of the human rights.
That's so good, huh?
And the other right is we have a duty to other people.
To protect
We
their
should
rights and
protect their
freedoms.
rights and freedoms.
That's very good. Very good. I like that. Human rights is 30 points. It's quite manageable.
The question is, could you please remind us which different types of specialties Baba is talking about?
Well, I think that's something you have to do for yourself, because there are thousands and millions of them. And what he said is, look deeply into yourself and ask yourself the question, what speciality do I have? Knowing that it's a gift from Baba. You have talents, you have specialities, things that you're good at. Your happiness depends on your angle on things, your perspective. If you consider happiness to be a feeling that comes when your sense perception is activated in that way, then that's nothing really about permanent happiness, because it keeps shifting. So you have to understand that the happiness that he's talking about is based on your skill in using the knowledge to make sure that you are happy about yourself, happy with others, and happy with service. Because it doesn't depend on what's going on and what you're experiencing. It depends on your position, your attitude to it all. So if you think it's a circus, then of course circus-like activities will happen. And if you think it's a big cosmic joke, then you'll look at it that way. If you think it's really serious, then you'll be serious about it. It's up to you how you look at it. But, it's definitely an amazing, incredible drama with all the things in it. Good, bad, or indifferent, but enjoy.
Can you talk a little bit more about the surrender? What does it mean?
Well, we don't do surrender anymore, but it used to be that you dedicate yourself, like a girl will go to a traditional family as a daughter-in-law and wife, and so she belongs to that family. So if you want to lead a spiritual life in India, you're not allowed to not be married. So the only alternative was to dedicate yourself to a center. But now we're nearly 80 years later, and that circumstance is not really a requirement anymore for survival. So it's not really practical anymore. And Daddy Janki stopped this system, especially for the Western people, many years ago. Being in Gyan is an incredible safety net, because if you do follow the things that Baba says, you can get big tests, but you won't be in big danger. Om Shanti.